What's cracking, LTB Nation? I'm Scott Argenbright.
And I'm Eric Toohey.
We've got the dog days of summer.
And for some of you, it's all about those swimming holes. We're going to show you it's really about the fishing holes.
Let's dive in.
Let's go.
During the dog days of summer, these fish can be really negative. The bite is slow, so you really need to slow down your approach. Dragging bait super slow, soaking them for long periods of time. That's gonna get those fish to bite when they're negative. Other times you really wanna find that bite window. Maybe it's the morning, maybe it's late evening. When that window is open and those fish are hot and biting, that's when you can speed up your retrieve and catch those fish in the dog days of summer.
Hot heat, and those weeds are at its peak. We see deep weed growth even. These baits, we're gonna be able to slow roll them right over the tops, slow it down, fish down deep into those weeds. During the hot dog days, we have always weather patterns and changes are always happening. We're gonna be able to use this to our advantage and really hoss on those dog day donkeys!
Anyone!
Oh, pick me! Oh, I know me!
In the dog days of summer, we've got a lucky extra in this box, something that everybody needs, and these are gonna be awesome to get into that thick grass. Two of the baits in this box, very, very necessary to have these bobber stops that is gonna peg your weight on the hook. What you do is you slide your line, your fluoro or your braid into the little loop. You're gonna fold it over, grab the bead, pull that up, and now you've got a bobber stop on your line and you are ready to put whatever weight, could be lead, could be tungsten, onto your line. Tie your hook to it, pull that knot down, and then you've got a nice little rig there ready to get into that thick heavy cover. Always trim your tag in, and you can get into that thick heavy cover and get them beasts out of there. We've talked about this one a lot, the good old classic Texas rig. Come up past the barb, sliding that all the way up the hook shank, give it a little twist. You're all set to go. Using the bend in the hook as your gauge, you're gonna come into the plastic right on that bend and then slide that right up and you're completely weedless. So this bait, the Gambler 5.0, is gonna be perfect for that heavy grass. As we talked about before, it's matted up, it's at its peak, it's as thick as it's gonna get. So you can go deep, you can go shallow with this bait. All depends on the size weight that you have on there. But again, you can run shallow, punch this into that heavy cover if you've got a heavy weight on there, or you can go deeper, throw this down a grass line, drag it back nice and slow. As we mentioned, you're gonna need to move it slow typically to get those bites in the dog days of summer.
Hopping along, we have that 6-inch Producto worm. We're also gonna use that lucky extra, pegging that Texas rig style weight. Again, we have this Texas rig just like that Gambler. We're gonna be able to fish this bait in shallow weeds, weed edges. We might find a little hard bottom area. Hop this bait along. This has a beautiful little flap tail to it. We're gonna be able to drag this out deep. Hop it through the mat grass. Fish it slowly, making good bottom contact. Always be certain to have good line to lure contact to feel those very finesse bites.
With the two Texas rig baits, you're gonna want a little bit more backbone. So this is a 7.4 heavy. That's gonna allow me to get those fish back to the boat quick, set the hook hard, and I'm not gonna break them off, and I can really hoss them back. So on top of that, you're gonna want anywhere from about a 15 to a 20 pound fluoro. You don't wanna go any lower than that, or you're gonna risk breaking them off, breaking your line. Braided line, typically anywhere from 40 to about 65 pounds, and you're good to go. Hoss those fish back, bottom baits, heavier weights, you're good to go. When we talk about fishing heavy grass, a lot of the time one of the best baits is going to be a bladed jig. This is the Rip and Lips Quiver Deliver. Again, you're gonna throw this into that heavy grass, and when you make contact with the grass, you're gonna use your rod tip, rip it free. Make sure that you're paying attention though, because when those fish bite is when you're ripping it through that grass. What I've done here is I've taken that Gambler 5.0 and I've added that to this bait as a trailer. Those legs are gonna kick and quiver really nice with this bait. And again, throw that into the heavy grass, be ready, because when you rip it free, they're gonna crush it.
You want to talk about skimming some deep weeds. The Bait Brigade Frogman. This bait is going to dive 6 to 8 feet. We're going to be able to cast this out whether it's off a ledge with some weeds, maybe a big open flat, but we're anticipating that this bait is just going to barely bump those weeds. If we tick some of those weeds with the bait, give it a little rip, give it a little pop, it's going to break free. You can cause a reaction bite out of that. But as we work this bait, giving it momentary pauses, a little hesitation, a little pull from the rod, it's going to cause this bait a little more action. Remember, we're trying to slow it down, anticipate that bite, get them with the Bait Brigade.
The Phenom Crackerjack. So this bait dives 3 to 5 feet. Anytime you see a gap in between the grass and the top of the water, you got a perfect little level to run this, slow roll this bait right over the top. When the fish turn on, the bite turns on late evening, the fish are looking up. They're looking for something to feed on, and it's got that nice rattle. Roll this right over the top, and you're gonna catch them.
We have the clear cut spinnerbait, a fantastic bait for during those dog days. The spinnerbait, being on a hairpin with an upturned hook, is very, very streamlined. This is a bait that we can run it right through the grass. We can run it right over the top, burn it in a little bit faster. We can also slow roll this, just like we talked about in those deep water conditions. We can fish this off deep ledges. We can pop this, get that skirt to pulsate and move and lunge if you would. Anytime that we bump grass and weeds, give it a little rip. It'll pull right out of there, almost completely weedless, and you can cause a lot of reaction strikes during the dog days with the clear cut. So for a lot of these moving baits, we're gonna rig this up on a bait casting setup. You might just have a spinning rod setup. It'll do the same, but a 6'6" to 7 foot medium action, more of a moderate tip. You know, you got treble hooks there, so that it's gonna pin them, peg them up really, really nicely. You know, we're gonna run, for me, a braided line to fluorocarbon. That way if we're in those deep weeds, that braid cuts right through. Some of you guys might like that fluorocarbon straight onto the spool, especially in that gin clear water. This setup is gonna help you keep it moving and keep it grooving on those big bass.
The whole point of this video was to make the dog days of summer a little less doggy for you guys.
Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, comment with questions down below.
We'll see you on the water next time.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.